We have now over 3,200 salonistas around the world connected. We're on every continent and connecting amazing women creatives from all disciplines and all stages of career, background, and cultures. So there is plenty to see and experience out there. So no excuses, everybody. And it is, again, my pleasure to be here in the studio. We also have our amazing engineer, Jan016, who is with us weekly, and she's a fine musician, so please be checking out her work on jadezabrick.com, JADEZABRIC.com. And so I'm just going to jump right into our special tonight. And it's a great pleasure of mine because I have known this amazing woman for several years now, and she just keeps coming back and participating with everything that we're doing and growing every year. And Kelley Donovan. Hi, Kelley.
Hello. Here.
It's great to see you again. And I am going to tell everybody a little bit more about Kelley. But she founded Kelley Donovaon Dancers, and that's what we're going to be featuring tonight and talking about their project called The Body Becomes the Messenger. And she's calling it the Boston Tour, but I'm going to get rid of Boston. I'm just going to say tour because I have a feeling this is going to go in other places.
I hope so. That would be great.
Around the world. And she has one of her colleagues and dancers with her tonight on the radio with us, and it's our pleasure also welcome Allison Trotta. Hi, Allison.
Good evening. Hi, how are you?
Oh, fantastic! Especially with you being here. So I've seen many of Kelley's dance performances over the years, and I had the great pleasure to see this new work called "The Body Becomes a Messenger" last Friday, and so I can't wait to talk more about that in a little bit. And I'm going to just read a little bit about Kelley and Allison for our listeners out there. And I just need to flip my page here to hear the sound effects, right? There we go. So Kelley Donovan splits her time presently working between both Boston and New York City. And she has performed work by Ann Carlson and Liz Lehrman. And she is on the faculty at University of Mass, Boston, and has been a great guest artist and teacher at many colleges, including, and she didn't write a great guest artist. I just happened to add that in there. Just realized that. So she's been a guest artist and teacher at many colleges, including Roger Williams University, Salem State College, Boston Center for the Arts, and has had work commissioned by World Music Crash Arts. And in New York City, she has shown work at Movement Research and the Cunningham Studio, the Duo Theater, the Joyce Soho, the Hatch, the Fresh Fruit Festival, Galapagos, pronounce that right, Gibney Dance Center, and the 92nd Street Y. So she's been all over New York City. And, it's Boston as well. And her work has received financial support from the Artist Foundation of Boston and the Massachusetts Cultural Council. Kelley studied choreography with Mark Morris and Bessie Schomburg. And Kelley Donovaon Dancers collaboratively create dance that investigates the mysterious world of internal transformation and expresses the intimate self through movement, ranging from soft fluidity to athletic physicality. That's great. What's it? Just feels very tasty words right there. just very meaty. Blended gestures intermingle to explore a definition of strength that includes vulnerability, which I applaud. That's so important. And Allison Trotta is a graduate of the High School of Performing Arts and has a BFA in dance from Marymount Manhattan College. And she received her MFA from Sarah Lawrence College in choreography. So Allison is currently the director of dance and movement at Nightingale Banford School in Manhattan. She performed It's All Forgotten Now with Kelley Donovaon Dancers all the way back in 2007. So you've been with Kelley and her dance troupe for is it 7 years now?
Yeah, we've known each other a long time now. That goes fast.
Yeah, it does, right? When we're having a great time. And Kelley Donovaon Dancers, as we mentioned, what they like to explore and present. They have this amazing project going on right now. The body is an instrument on loan. This is a quote from Marilyn Chandler McIntyre.
McIntyre.
Oh, McIntyre. Yeah. McIntyre. And she says, "We receive it, live in it, with it, by it, know what we know by means of its 5 senses, and finally let it fall like a leaf when it is time to move into another intensity. Our freedom lies in obedience to the way of all creation, to live into the seasons we are given, to rise, crest, and ebb, to consent to the terms of time for the duration of this journey, and then, when the time comes, let it go." Thank you, Marilyn, for those words about this piece. And I must say, I felt all that, and just, gosh, so much more. I think when I experienced personally last
great.
Friday.
I'm glad. I'm hoping those things came across.
Oh, most
sense of impermanence.
Most definitely. And I was telling you at the end of the. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth later, but at the end of the show, it was so engaging. So many things going on. It was like one big long story. I'm a visual artist, so many times, I'm seeing things sort of as a visual artist, and sort of seeing it almost like a movie, with all these little different stories going on and how they interact, and ebbing and flowing and moving and, like you say, cresting and waning, and I was really, really intrigued with how you were able to bring the body forms of singular people together into one form. Mm-hmm. That was really, really neat. Both a duo, like if they were sort of linked physically together and they looked like one body or one form. Yeah. But then also we had several of them kind of ebbing and flowing across the dance floor and doing different. Everybody can see me here in the studio waving my arms back and forth. I look like a dancer.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're a visual artist.
Well, I think Kelley's really good at layering in space, and I think that would play to the visual artist in you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, layering space. We got to add that into your little description.
Yeah, I love that.
Right? That's the great thing about getting the feedback, right? You just continually.
Yeah.
And the same for, I think, all artist forms and artistry and artists is the more that we talk about it, our own artwork, and hear from others what they get from it, really helps us develop the storyline or develop the description or what is the work about, and
the hardest part,
right?
Talking about your own work.
Putting it in words is so tough, and that's why we dance, because we're not good at with putting things in words. So.
And that's why I'm a visual artist too. So
days.
Hey, we're kindred spirits here.
Yeah. Well, and we're also academics, both of us. So I feel like the elevator pitch was never my strength.
Right.
I can have an hour-long discussion with you, but if you want me to say it in 3 lines or less, I have a problem.
Yeah. It's very difficult.
I hear you there.
It took me till November just to write PR for this piece because it was so close to me and so hard to see beyond just, we brainstormed in rehearsal at the very beginning. I got ideas from all of them. I gathered a whole lot of thoughts, and I wanted them to be presented as individuals with their own stories too. Right. So I hope that came across.
Oh, it did. And in fact, gosh, I'm really jumping ahead into our part 2 kind of. Usually we start out by, how did you become artist, and give us some inspiration talk. We'll get there. But one thing I'd really like to talk about is, how a dance comes together. Mm-hmm. And, I think many of us kind of know how a song comes together. Mm-hmm. We know there's notes. Mm-hmm. And we know that somebody either hears them, plays on a guitar, and then writes it down, and it gets, written on this music sheet, right? Yeah. And the same for writing, you write it down, But I've never had the experience of, like, seeing what do dancers see when they're learning, and you as choreographers, how do you get down what's inside your imagination or brain, and either on paper or giving it to your dancers? How does that all come together?
I do a lot of research before we start, but then I put all of that away. I present a theme to the dancers, and then it's really collaborative in terms of what happens in rehearsal. I don't, there's the myth that choreographers have it all planned out in their head, and then it's just getting the dancers to do it. And maybe there are people that work that way, but all of what we do happens in rehearsal. The piece itself comes to life in rehearsal. And, it's a very collaborative process. And when I was younger, I would create a phrase and try to teach it to dancers, but the way I move and the way they move, people are very individual in that sense. So I find it better to actually create the piece of art on their bodies from them, from their ideas and images that I give them. Then the piece actually looks better the way that they execute the piece. So I find that, it's collaborative from the very beginning. I try to keep the idea and the theme in mind the whole way through, and I share as much with them. And I think we talked more about the theme of this piece than we have in pieces in the past. We talked a lot more in rehearsal about things this time around. And I think it showed. I think the result was a little bit clearer in our intentions. But I give them words and images. I give them movement ideas, and I just see what they create in rehearsal. And I give them a vocabulary that they can use or completely ignore, or some movement concepts. And then I see what they create. And then I merge the best of what everybody, I think it was 20 of us in the room on the first day. I took the best of what everybody put together. And then from there, we actually edited down, because we had a lot of material in the beginning. So we edited down, and then we started creating partnering and duets. And I'd be curious to ask Allison as to whether or not she felt the process. She was in the piece in 2007, and then we didn't work together for a while. And I'm wondering, did you see the process changing?
I would say that I think that this time you gave us more movement sort of problems to solve. So it wasn't just ideas and images, but it was really coming up with a solution to this was the end result of what you wanted to get at, and use these tools and figure out how to get there. I also think that I am in a more sophisticated place than I was then, as far as how to engage in that process with you. But yeah, I think it's creating a body of material. I also think there's sort of a myth of an audience that the dance is created from beginning to end, or even that the end is that you have you usually actually don't have a strong feeling, or at least I don't, and I don't know if you do. But the beginning and the end, it's the middle, it's the meat of it that kind of gets created first, and then the very last part is Kelley shaping it. But it's the getting the vocabulary together.
And I find that shaping it part is the most challenging part for me, because it's great to be in the studio and creating for 2 or 3 months, and it's so much fun. And then we actually have to put it in some kind of a sequence so that it makes sense, and then organize and figure out blind entrances, because we couldn't see what was going on stage when they were back behind. So we had to figure out how we were going to execute it. And that was the last month through December. And that was, I would say, the hardest part for us. But the fun, creative part that went on through September, October, and November was just great. Every week we'd come in and be creative and have a great time. And it was really fun and inspiring.
That's great. I wanted to ask a quick question in between this. How did you bring these particular dancers, and I imagine some of them are choreographers as well. How did you do a call out? You worked with Allison before. You worked with others before.
Yeah, there was one other dancer who came back from 2009 actually, and the best part was they were both moms now. They went away, had their families, and they had this mom thing in common which was really cool. Really cool. And she even she just had her baby, Lucia, in I think, how old was she? Maybe 3 months old. 6 months, yeah. Tiny baby, which she brought to rehearsal, which was really fun. That's a real, full circle feeling for me. I've been at this for a while now that there's a whole new generation popping up. But, she had been with us. She was in a piece called Borrowed Bones, which is thematically not so far from what we're doing with this piece. The rest of the dancers, I just put out a call, Dance NYC and a few other places. I emailed around, told people I knew I was looking for dancers. And we started with about 20 people, and we ended up with about 14 in the end due to schedules and people having different things that come up in their lives. So it's a pretty big group right now. And then there are a few of them who won't be able to go to Boston. But for the most part, I would say we're going to go to Boston with about 12 dancers. That's it's great. A lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
Great. Let me jump back a little bit before we talk a little bit. Did I hear a yell out somewhere? We have an audience somewhere behind the walls here shouting out to us. Of course, that makes me lose my train of thought. But I want to go back to a little bit about the creation process, and it really makes sense what you're saying. How it's collaborative, and you're bringing people together, and they're making their own contributions, and you're testing things out through triggers and of content, whether it's words or images or whatnot. How, and again, I'm asking this because not being a dancer or choreographer, just trying to get a grasp and understand it more, but also there might be some young dancers out there who are saying, gosh, I want to get into this, what should I do? How do I do this, etc. So when you're creating form and dance and movement, and you can see me flailing my arms around right now, and you're talking about, seeing how it comes together. Do they just memorize it, or do you jot notes down? Do you do you do any like graphs and like the football teams do, the women's football teams I'm talking about. This is a women's program, so when you sketch out, we go here, go there. How do they remember?
I think they just have to remember it.
Yeah,
they just memorize it.
You remember, especially it's a lot easier actually to remember something you created physically that came out of you, or came out of you and a partner, and your bodies fitting together. It's much harder to learn something that someone else said on their own body. But so we did definitely just organically memorize all of the phrases. What became difficult in the end was what we called the shaping, right? Mm-hmm. So this trio is coming after, this duet is coming after, and then Kelley had to be kind of like den mom and send everyone lists and emails and print them up and post them.
So you knew kind of what order they were going.
The order, really only maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. How long did we
About
know?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. We had a set order.
3 weekends, to figure it out.
That's great. And just a shout out to the term phrases, because when you first mentioned it, it just sort of kind of floated out there, but you said it more solidly this time. In the sense of what it means. So a phrase is sort of like a section of movement.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I was going to say, one of the things that usually helps dancers remember movement is muscle memory, which is that when they rehearse it and they constantly repeat it, usually after a while your body starts to remember those movements. The tricky part about what we do is that we take that original phrase, that fragment of movement that we start with, and we vary it, and we do a duet version, a turning version, a floor version, so many versions of that phrase that sometimes the muscle memory thing is not as helpful.
It's a little,
because you do that arm, but then it goes here. Next time it goes there, and then it's always a little different. So
next
I
time
think
it's touching the floor,
right? Exactly.
So
it's tricky, and I think I'm curious to know from Allison how that process in other dances you've been in. Is there as much trickiness with the muscle memory? How does that work?
Theme and I would say I use theme and variation in everything. So yes, it's always difficult.
Yeah.
But it's I think the best way to express content, because you're taking the same idea and expressing it in multiple ways, and so the audience gets a chance to digest it in different forms, and what's going to hit one person one way is going to hit someone else in a different way. But it's definitely complicated, and my students hate when I make them do it.
It's hard work,
and
dancing
it's
hard.
Well, it's
work.
also easier to just make up more movement. It's just not as good, but it's easier to just keep making more movement. It's more challenging to say, can you do that on the floor? Can you do it backwards? Can you do it with a different body part?
And I love the dancers who love the challenge, who eat up the challenge. Yes, I can figure out the most clever way to do it, and then they come up with great stuff. And Allison is great with that. I mean, she just hangs in there yes, I can do it this way. Yes, I can do it that way. And, you know, what's great for the audience, I think, is that there's recognition of the theme, but then a surprise at the same time, so that it doesn't become boring, but it also isn't so scattered with so many different pieces of material that you can't make sense of it. Your eye gets a chance to recognize something familiar, but then see where it goes the next time.
Yeah. I found as an audience member, I started recognizing, as you say, phrases now. So the next time I go to a dance, I'm going to say, hey, yeah, there's a phrase.
Which is really important because, you know, a song that you love, you could listen to 100 times. You could put that on your headset all day long. But really the dance piece, you're most likely going to see it once, maybe twice, unless it's, I don't know, Revelations or the Nutcracker. I don't know what else you would see. So within that, it's difficult as the performer or the choreographer, because for you, if you've been working on it 6 months, a year, it could seem repetitive to you, but you have to remember that that person is having the experience in a flash. You know, so you need to give them time to recognize those repeat phrases, or it's not going to have any lasting meaning.
And at the same time, my yardstick for whether a piece is good enough to be premiered is that, can I sit there and watch the video, or do I want to go and get a sandwich or something? If I'm bored enough that I want to go do something else and I don't want to watch my own work, then no, it needs help.
That's a good yardstick for sure. And actually, that was going to be another question of mine: is do you use video for record teaching or recording or memory or practice?
We have our own YouTube channel, actually. If you go to our blog, kddcompany.wordpress.com, then you'll see one more time. kddcompany.wordpress.com. You can see video clips, and you can actually watch the piece as it developed, section by section. What I do is I videotape every section, and I post it on the YouTube channel for the dancers to refer to before the next rehearsal, so we remember what we did. And so week by week by week, we build each section, and you can sort of see the progression of that. I'll post the final finished one. So as we're working on something new, so we'll be doing that again next year, you can see, then you see the performances up there and the whole sequence, so they can see it. Yeah.
You could be a real follower and just
you could see it
the
as
whole
it develops.
Process.
Right, exactly. It's all there, actually. If you go back, the archives are still up there. You can see each little tidbit.
Oh, well, you've got me. I'm going to be going back and check it out. Just like we're going to be encouraging all our listeners out there to check out all our archive shows for the last 2 years here on City World Radio. And before we take a quick little sponsor break, I wanted to what was it? Gosh, you just got me so enthralled here. My brain is like going all over the place. Well, let's do the sponsor break because I know it's going to come back to me. So take a breather. Oh, that's what I was going to say. While we're doing our sponsor break, our listeners out there, go to kddcompany.wordpress.com and get it up on your screen if you have a computer near you or your phone, and you can follow along for the rest of just the short time that we have with Kelley and Allison. But we'll be back with you in just a moment. And this is a moment we'd like to take during the show to give a shout out to all of our past sponsors and partners and current collaborators. We can't do what we do as well without you. And this is a new year, 2016, and we'd like to really crank it up this year and provide more opportunities for women artists through our Salon Solo Visual Art Series at Producers Club here on Salon Radio, providing a platform for women's creative organizations, groups, and projects, as well as individual artists. And also we have Salon Lounge at Dixon Place, which is a monthly showcase for performance, literary, and video film work. So, and much more to come. And so please reach out to us at womenartsalon@gmail.com and let us know how you'd like to partner with us, whether you'd like to join as a woman creative, any age, any background, any discipline, anywhere around the world, or if you'd like to partner with us, create an event, or have us be a programmatic sponsor with you in your event, or if you have a little extra money out there and you'd like to be a sponsor and help us grow and create bigger and better platforms to connect more women artists around the world. So do reach out to us at womenartsalon@gmail.com and see what we can do together. So that is our sponsor break. And we're back here talking with Kelley Donovan and Allison Trotta, who are working together again with Kelley Donovan and Dancers, creating this amazing piece that has been premiered here in New York City and is going to be heading to Boston. It's called The Body Becomes a Messenger. And we've been talking about how that creative process has evolved and comes together and how they work together. So let's now talk a little bit about your mission right now and where you want to take this amazing piece. You said you're going to go to Boston. I think you're going to be having a fundraiser coming up. Is that correct?
Yes, we are. One of the dancers has a loft in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and we're going to have on Saturday night, January 23rd, a 7:30 and a 9 o'clock show. We're going to do some excerpts from the piece that we did last weekend, and also one of the dancers is going to perform belly dance. A couple of them are going to do improvisation and choreography. So it's a chance for them to show what they do outside of what the company does. We'll also have poets from the salon read, Maureen Van Trees, and also one of our dancers is a poet, Azia Parrish. She's going to read some poetry as well, and we'll show some little bits of movement from the piece.
Fantastic. And so this is going to be a fun evening to see different works of art.
Yeah. And it's 129 North 11th Street, 7:30 and 9 p.m. on January 23rd, Saturday.
Great. And we will have this up on our International Women Artist Salon fan page as a specific event, but you can see it right now on our Facebook event that is highlighting tonight's radio show. And you said you should have about 12 of your dancers heading out to Boston with you?
Yep. We'll be, I did a residency at the Dance Complex in January through August before I came to New York in September. And part of that residency was allowing us to be part of their performance series that happens this season. So we'll be performing March 11th and 12th, and we'll show this piece as well as some of the pieces I've done on Boston dancers. So it'll be the first time I've had a program with Boston dancers and New York dancers, because I do make dances in both places. So it'll be, and I think a couple of the dancers from this group will be in some of the Boston choreography as well. So that'll be kind of fun to mix both groups, and I'll probably do some solo material, hopefully. And so we'll be doing kind of a culmination of everything we've been doing this year in 2015. We'll show.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And we're going to need to close your feature here in the next minute or so. And we get to see her talk all night. And do you have a piece of advice or inspiration for some budding dancers out there?
I would say, just go to class and keep working on what you're doing, and go to auditions and meet as many people as you can. And you never know. If you come to a salon meeting, for example, we're having one at my house tomorrow, you might meet other dancers there, and you might find somebody to collaborate with. And I think sometimes people want to aim for the big companies, but sometimes you just have to start small. The more you dance, the better you get, the more you learn. Just keep dancing.
Great. How about you, Allison? Do you have
Yes.
words of wisdom?
No, just that. Well, to me, it's only worth doing work you love. So, big name or not, follow the people who you love and who move the way you want to move.
Fantastic. Well, those are great pearls of wisdom that you're sharing with us tonight, and great inspiration of collaboration, which IWAS is all about as well, and cross-discipline, as well as within disciplinary areas. So thank you for being here tonight and sharing this amazing journey that you're on together. And we can't wait to see more and hear more.